Hey, everybody, it's Will with Schedulefly, and I'm really excited today to have Ben Hugus on the phone. Ben is at Ursa Minor Brewing in Duluth, Minnesota, and he started the brewery, and they've just been open for 2.5 weeks. So this is a great opportunity to talk to somebody who's very early on in opening just a phenomenal business, and who's poured a lot of time and energy and passion into getting going. And here they are 2.5 weeks in. He was kind enough to take some time out of his day to speak with me. So Ben, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
You bet, man. All right. Well, tell me the story of Ursa Minor, man. And you guys have just gotten open. So what's the backstory? Had you been in
Sure.
home brewing, or had you been with another brewery, or how did this all get started?
Yeah, well, it's a long road of many different adventures, and we started Ursa Minor Brewing. Kind of became it's an idea probably 4 or 5 years ago. My brother and I were pursuing different careers at the time, and like, how cool would it be to start a brewery? And it's kind of this romantic, fun idea and whatnot, but we slowly got more serious about it. And one day we were like, screw it, let's do it. And I went and started on the business plan and all the tracking down money. Breweries are expensive. And we were brewing on a homebrew system at the time. So we kept brewing, and Mark, my brother, went to work for commercial breweries and started out at Red Eye Brewing in Wausau. Ended up moving through a few other breweries and moving all the way to Vickers Brew House here in Duluth. And the rest is history. We just kind of were able to finally find a space, and when we were confident enough in our recipes and our food that we thought we could make the leap, we dove right in. And we broke ground on this space January 2nd of this year, and we just opened our doors September 26th. So we're pretty happy with ourselves right now. We're excited that beer's going over the counter.
Well, okay. So congratulations, first of all. What a process you've been through the last few years. There's so much involved in that. So I know that's a great feeling. It was probably a great feeling to break ground, but to open your doors and have your product, passing across people's lips and putting smiles on their faces, I'm sure is very exciting. And then also you've got, a really interesting road ahead, I'm sure. So, what did you, for the last few years, so your brother was there doing that and you were out working on the business plan? And
it's hard to, I'm trying to, put a huge story into
Sure.
a few minutes, but
yeah,
I actually was a teacher.
Okay.
I taught biology, chemistry, and math.
Gotcha.
So I've been brewing for a long time. I've been a home brewer, a yeast enthusiast. So making beer and other fermented products is kind of like was my hobby for a long time, and turning it into going pro is a huge undertaking. And we went through a lot of different steps to make sure that we're entering a very competitive marketplace.
Yeah, you sure are.
I think there's over 6,000, almost 7,000 breweries in the U.S. right now, or somewhere in there. It's early in the morning on a Monday. This is our one day where we don't open our doors, so I'm a little fuzzy on this morning. But there's a lot of different breweries in the country, so we didn't want to jump into the marketplace not being 100% confident that our products could compete. And so we took classes at Oregon State University, Siebel Institute, found mentors, and took our time brewing, getting feedback, talking to other breweries and brewery owners, getting feedback on the pitfalls they were unlucky to fall into. And everyone, this is a wonderful industry. People are wide open and share things that most people probably wouldn't in other industries. So we were really lucky to have that community come together around us.
I've noticed that, which is interesting because it is so competitive. Why do you think that is? Because that's what everybody I speak to that does something similar will tell you. Well, they all say that.
I think in craft brewing, I think it's this mentality of a rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah. Okay.
Craft beer is still this small percentage of the pie, right? I mean, we haven't. It's not like craft beer rules the world. It may seem like you go to the liquor store and you see more brands than domestic beers or whatever you want to call them, macro beers. But that's just because of number. I mean, there's only a handful of those macro beers, and there's thousands of craft beers, but all of those thousands put together are still a small piece of that volume and market. So we all have this understanding. I mean, the brewery that's 5 blocks away from my brewery, we're not directly competing with each other. I mean, anything that we do just brings more people to an area to see them as well. So if they help us and we make a great product, then we're going to, in turn, bring more people to the area. More people will see their product. And, we really, all of us really just deeply care about quality, good craft beer. And if that means helping out a competitor, then so be it. That's all good.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, it's a good mentality. It's a good way to look at it. It's refreshing for sure.
It is. I think in a world of cutthroat business, it's very refreshing and makes it a lot more fun to come to work if that's your interactions with your competitors.
Absolutely. Now, are you serving beer and food, or just beer?
We are doing food as well.
Yeah.
We are a production brewery. But so we only serve our own beer and non-alcoholic beverages, but we do have a wood-fired pizza oven. So we decided way early on that we wanted to have wood-fired pizzas in our tap room. We were a tap room centric place, but bringing in food brings in its own set of challenges. So we try to keep it as simple as possible. It's just a wood-fired oven that we don't even hook it up to gas or electricity. We have no burners and no fryers. So it's fun. Yeah, we can pump out a pizza in about 2 minutes at 750 degrees, and they're delicious.
That's cool. So, well, tell me, I mean, there are so many. I wonder this because there's 6,000 or 7,000 or whatever. There's so many. I always wonder, like in your planning, how do you what were some of the key components of building the business plan when you said, okay, we can do this and we can make a living off of this, and we feel like even though there's so many out there, like we can find our place in this competitive market?
It's a community by community thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's places in this country that I would never start a brewery. Absolutely not.
Gotcha. I mean, there's just too much competition.
There's just too many options.
Yeah.
I mean, there are places where that the market has matured on a micro level.
Yeah.
A municipal level or whatever, state level, where it's definitely matured to the point where there probably isn't much room for a brewery, and it depends on the size of your brewery. You could put a 1-barrel brewery just about anywhere and sell 1 keg of beer a night and close your doors. Problem with that is, there is a economy of scale.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to get paid to do that 1 barrel of beer, well, then you're going to have to brew that 1 barrel of beer 8 to 12 to how many times over just to be able to take enough money to be able to pay yourself a livable wage.
Right.
So there's an economy of scale there. But if, it'd be a very different story for us if we wanted to open up and say, hey, we've got a 50-barrel brew house and we want to brew 100,000 barrels of beer this year. Right? That's a much harder market to fit into than a little guy like us. We have a 5-barrel brew house. We've designed our facility to be a maximum about 1,000 to 1,250 barrels per year.
Gotcha.
And that's really small. We care about our tap room, and that is our first priority. So we're not out there, even in the city of Duluth. We're such a small player that it was an easy decision to say, yes, we want to open here, even though there are other breweries in town.
Gotcha.
So you could talk for hours about, how many breweries should there be? How many breweries will there be? And I think the overall consensus comes back to it's all about the size, because you can have, whatever, I don't know what the upper limit, 10,000 tiny breweries, but that same number of breweries, if they were all 5,000 to 10,000 barrels a year, well, then it wouldn't fit.
It wouldn't
People
work.
don't
Gotcha.
drink that much beer.
Okay.
So it depends on the number of breweries isn't the concern. I think it's the size that those breweries expect to get to.
Okay, makes sense. Makes a ton of sense. So you've got 5 barrels. I mean, do you expect that you'll grow, or do you feel are you set on 5 for?
So we built our business is a 5-barrel brew house. We would like to grow, but we also don't want to force the market, and we don't want to put ourselves in a position where if you don't grow, we fail.
Right.
We're comfortable with where we're at, and we have a couple tanks coming. They're on the way already. But that'll be it for a while until we can really reassess our market and make sure we've got our ducks in a row and we're making really high quality beers. And if we choose to grow, then it's a risk that we're taking to go a little bit bigger. Maybe we're not canning right away. Maybe we decide to jump into a little bit of canning. Maybe it's just taps around town. Maybe it's just the tap room. We say, nope, this is good. But our business model is very flexible that way. So we definitely have plans to grow, but we're trying to do it incrementally and slowly.
How's it been going the first couple of weeks?
It's been wild. It's been wild. It's been awesome. It's been really awesome.
What's surprised you about it? What has happened?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I think it's the sheer number of people.
Okay.
We were kind of like, oh, we'll open, and we think this many people will come, and so I went out. We hired some bartenders and some kitchen staff, and everyone's like, all right, hunky dory, this can be fun. And we opened up the doors, and we just got swarmed. Just how many? I don't think we did a head count, but we had like 6,000 people came through our doors in the first 5 days.
Good grief! How many people live in Duluth?
Like 80,000.
Oh my gosh, that's insane!
And so all these people came through our doors, and on the opening night, we just couldn't even pour beers fast enough. It was basically open up the taps and just pints back and forth. It was so much fun. We had a great time. Our staff was amazing, but way more than we ever expected or ever could have dreamed. Really, it was awesome.
What do you? Why do you think that is? Had you marketed it really well, or is there just pent up demand, or is it just like?
I think people are excited for originality in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And I think in Duluth, we fit really nicely because we're authentic. I've got Andrew just walked in the office. This guy did like half of the screws in this building are put in by this one guy that's on our little team,
Right.
I mean,
right.
we were here working every day for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months with tool belts. And then we'd rip them off. We'd dust ourselves off, throw on a nice shirt and try and look pretty to go into a bank and say, please, can we have some money? I mean, we worked our butts off to make this happen. And I think people can see that, that authenticity there. And I hope people will recognize that our product is also high quality as well. But I think people really are anxious and want to connect with their communities around them.
Yeah.
And I think too much so in recent boom times of breweries, it's been easy just to get financing and build something that's perfectly marketed for the consumer. And I think people are starting to see through that.
Talk about the raising money. You said you were going to banks. Did you get outside investors plus a mix of equity and debt or like?
Well, yeah, we were lucky enough to keep the equity piece family owned.
Okay, good.
So we kept that within our family, and I put up everything I had into this, and we did have to go get bank loans as well. We couldn't have made it happen without some great partners. We ended up partnering with some nonprofit. I don't know what you call them. One of them is called the Entrepreneur Fund.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the other one was called Northwood Foundation. Both of which were extremely generous and helpful, but they're lending organizations that can take a little bit larger risk on some startup companies, where a bank might not.
Yeah.
But they, charge a higher interest rate.
Sure.
So
are they local, or are these national organizations, or
these are local?
These are local. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But we were really lucky to get them on board, and that was half the battle is finding out how to pay for everything.
Yeah, it's not an easy process raising money like that,
not.
especially getting banks involved. Banks can be tricky. That's good to know you had some banks there that were willing to step up for you. So, that's a hard part of the process. A very just challenging piece that can be overwhelming, I think, for some people that are trying to do what you're doing. But you had to be good at building, designing your product, designing your build, selling your idea to people, and so much of that is just selling it. It's you're obviously a good salesman. It's helping people understand what you're trying to do and why you will be successful at doing it. And a lot of that's just pure salesmanship and persuasion. And you clearly did a good job with that. So I tip my hat, Ben. I know it's been. I mean, there's just a million pieces of the puzzle to have to come together to get to where y'all are today. So.
Oh man, yeah, it's kind of crazy. A year ago, so actually last night, we had my daughter's first birthday party here in the tap room, and I just have one child, and she was born a year ago around this time in beginning October, and time goes so fast. But she was born. I remember going the day before she was born, being in an architecture meeting, stamping the plans, saying, "All right, we're doing it."
That's great.
And a year ago or a year later, we've got having her first birthday party here. It's just been wild.
That's really cool, man.
But honestly, it takes a team. You can't. People try and do this stuff by themselves, and they end up shortcutting things. But there's so many resources out there for entrepreneurs now that help immensely in finding those resources and leaning on people and even things like apps, right? I mean, like you guys know, Schedulefly. That's such a simple little thing that makes someone's life so much easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
But searching out those things and not trying to bang your head against the wall the hard way, because there's too many things to do that. You're going to end up doing that no matter what on some things, but avoid it where you don't have to.
Well, that's right. And I know you, thank you for mentioning that. I mean, I know that you were referred to us. It was word of mouth. I mean, it sounds like, and you had folks that it's good to have an industry, craft beer industry, where you can find people that have done it that are willing to share, because that really helps with that learning curve a lot, I've got to imagine, with just stripping out all the stuff that would take you 5 times longer to figure out on your own through trial and error, and getting good advice and good word of mouth and good feedback and so forth. So that's that's good to hear. Very good to hear. Well, man, listen, I know you're a busy dude, so I appreciate you taking the time to do this. We appreciate the chance to serve y'all. You're awesome. We're inspired by stories like this. I do 4 or 5 interviews a week with folks, that are in the hospitality business, independently owned restaurants, and we have a lot of craft breweries now as customers. And just hearing your stories and learning what you're doing and why you're doing it is why we do what we do. We love serving the people we do, and I just always learn from folks like you and get a shot of inspiration. So congrats to you and your brother and your team, and I know you guys are going to do great, and we just really appreciate you taking the time to come on and share the story.
Well, hey, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, Ben. Absolutely, man. All right, have a good one. Anytime I can do anything for you, man, let me know.
Sounds great. Have a good one.
All right, take care.